Hey YouTube, it's Matt with Olympus Reptile. We're going mask free today to tell you, well, let me back up the train. A little while back we posted a video talking about the tragic loss of Colin and some of the things that he meant to this shop and to the reptile community here locally. So we did start a GoFundMe. We'll put a link in this video. We're about to end that campaign soon, so if you do want to donate, now is definitely a good time to do that if you haven't already. It is going to go to help his infant daughter, and what I would basically say is his widow. I mean, he was engaged to be married, making this loss even more tragic. But with that today, we wanted to share a few of his animals that he had that are now with us here at the zoo, so you could kind of see a little bit of what he cared about and some of the things that made him extremely happy. And this is one of his tegus that Caleb's holding. So Caleb, I'm going to let you tell them about this tegu.
So this is one of his females. If I remember correctly, this was one of the first ones that he had produced. He has one that is special to him because it was a wild caught out of Florida. He went and caught a wild caught, and then this was one of the first ones that he produced. And they're a little squirmy, even though they're captive bred. Like, these are like in the monitor family, where they're not true monitors, but I like to think of them as North American monitors. Because they like to really squirm and run. And sometimes you just gotta set them down, let them get their energy, and then just pick them back up. And these guys right now are currently in the midst of breeding season, so they are a little bit extra finicky.
Yes.
They brumate for a good 4 months, undisturbed, no food, no nothing. You're okay.
And they're crazy to feed when you got a group, right?
Yes.
We'll be doing that on the next video. Our next video is going to be a tegu feeding video. I just want to throw that out there. So if you're not subscribed, your ass ought to be, because you can see things like us feeding tegus. Just throwing that out there. Anyway,
yeah, for sure. And but because they are in breeding season, they are very hungry. They got to build up a lot of food, kind of like your ball pythons when they're going into that kind of zone. Your females start really pounding down food. That's essentially what these guys are. And if I miss a single meal, it's very dangerous for my fingers. And anyone's fingers who needs to get one out like this. We kind of had a little fun trying to get these guys out. But that is normal for them. Like, they're not an animal that just sits still. On average, they'll go a couple miles for food. Like, they are constantly scavenging for food.
You can see that tongue just to work.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah, and the cool thing about these guys is they're not strictly carnivores. For a big lizard, they actually do enjoy berries and some fruits and occasional veggies, not so much. But, it's pretdy unheard of for a big lizard like that.
You mentioned this was one of the first ones that he produced, and I think I was here for that.
Yes.
So I'll talk a little bit about that really quick, and then we'll go show you another lizard that was special to Colin. He had a lot of animals. I mean, like anybody who's been in this industry for a long time, you got animals that are yours that are special to you, right? We both have that. Kurt has that. Since he's not here to share some with you, we wanted to do so. What this is it's a cross between a red and a black and white. And so you don't see crosses very often. They tend to look more like a black and white. I think the pattern is a little bit more broken up on it. And it was one of those things where we were kind of playing with it, but he didn't have a super amount of time to dedicate to it. So I remember when it happened and we had the eggs, how super excited he was to have these tegus, and we sold them out of the shop for a while. He'd kept a few, I think this one, and I don't know if he kept any more, maybe it was just this one. And then we took him up to Tinley. I don't know if they told you about that or not. So was it Tinley? It was either Tinley or Daytona, one of the two. Tinley. And we have these there at Tinley. And we got this big ass tegu, the red, that was the mom, and she's super sweet. So everybody could kind of pet her, see her, kind of understand. And then we had these baby tegus. Well, I swear to God, like one of those things opened its own thing at one point, and we had tegu loose running around Tinley. I mean, I think there was more than one, wasn't there, Kurt? 2 or 3 running around, and they got caught and brought back to us. But yes, there was.
I can imagine. I mean, these guys, they're not dumb and they are quick.
Well, it wasn't red. The mom was fine. It was the babies who were just like, boom, So, but yes, it was, and I remember Colin was pretty distraught about that.
I'm sure he was.
But he was so proud of hatching those. So this was, I know how much this particular animal meant because of getting those to hatch. So before we go look at the other animal, Kurt, anything you want to add?
No.
Actually, you know what? Why don't we, we'll go look at the other animal. I was thinking about maybe saving that for Patreon, but we'll do something different for those guys. So we'll put this one back in. Yeah. Oh boy.
Come here, little girl.
Oh, look, that was even safe.
Yeah.
So now we came back here. We're kind of in the bowels of Manhattan reptile world, and we've got a new perspective. I'll just let that joke sink in for a minute. Basically, we got shorter, and I think Kurt got taller. We did that to show off. This is another animal that was really special to him. And obviously, it does look like it's got a little bit of some issue going on, but that's normal for these guys, right?
Yep.
So why don't you tell us what we got here? And we'll go
So this is a scaleless bearded dragon, also known as a Silky. The day this was a surrender, and it was rough. Like, I know this kind of probably looks rough, but this is like nice compared to what it's been. And he wasn't quite sure whether to release this to the public, to find a friend. And Sierra actually had like come in and like fallen in love with it, and he decided that he was going to take it home. And so he did, and it kind of became one of their little feature family pets.
And for those that don't know, Sierra's a fiance, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The one and only. He wasn't that kind of guy. Just one fiance.
Yes. And so, as you can see, like just like any scaleless, they shed pretty weird.
They do.
They're not one that you kind of want a lot of, bearded dragons, you want substrate for them to burrow in, things like that. This is not really one you want substrate. Paper towels and things like that, they just get scratched real easy. Mm-hmm. Be careful with your lighting.
They burn, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's why you don't see to me as in captivity, because they are more difficult to keep. I think that's true across more than any scaleless animal.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm trying to work scaleless ball pythons, but
right.
I think we're going to run into the same issues.
And more so than ball pythons, this species is one you would rather have the het scaleless. I'm not sure if it's scaleless het or just het scaleless and bearded dragons. I'm not well versed in the scaleless bearded dragon world. But it's something I do know that you want your females to be not the visual version because of how brutal their breeding is. It would just
lots of biting.
Lots of biting, and their scales are really tough and sharp, and it'd be brutal for the female.
And one thing too, in your work with any animal and some shed retention, I want to kind of share, because you've seen us kind of pulling a few pieces off, or you're rubbing, those are coming off now. That is okay to do, but if you have a piece you go to remove, like this one, it's kind of wanting to stick, don't force it.
Yep.
That's when too, like a little bit of a soak will help get the rest of that off. And it's really common for any scaleless animal to have some retention on skin. But a lot of people are having to use lotion on these, correct? To help.
Yep. Lotions, just constant soakings. I mean, with this bearded dragons in particular, because they are a dry species, it's notoriously hard to get them to shed real nice.
Right. And I think when these hit the market, there was a lot of excitement.
Yeah.
And the excitement, even on the silk backs, which I think is a het version, right? Which is a little scaleless area here.
Leatherback.
Leatherback. That's what it is, right? Not silkback, leatherback. It kind of died off very fast because of the extra care that it entails, meaning the people buying these or wanting these are people who are bearded dragon people or really deep reptile people are not probably appropriate for the guy getting his first bearded dragon. This is not something, if you've never had a bearded dragon before, I would say, go out and get a leatherback or a scaleless, probably one to avoid, correct?
Yeah, it's not even something we've sold in the shop in a long time. We did it once just to see, but we decided against that.
Yep, and with that, though, too, then you just don't see as many in the captive trade because if it's supply and demand, the demand's a lot lower, you don't have the supply.
Yep.
But one thing I noticed, too, looking at it, is if we can look at it underneath its jaw, it's got the black lines there, so you can see where I think that's a really cool look right there. So really neat animal. And I think this would be harder to keep than, say, a scaleless, snake.
Yes.
And that's because of needing the UVB, needing the sun replication, and then you're running the risk of the skin burn because the scales protect from that too.
Yep.
So, but really cool animal. And again, this is to show, so you're seeing two different sides of Colin that I want you to see now that I wanted you to see him before he was gone, but now we can talk about him since he's gone. He ain't here to show you himself. We will. And that is, you got to see the tegu, which he bred and was so excited about, and hitting that goal and having this different animal that he raised from the ground up. Then you also get to see the side where something came into the shop, and I can tell you guys this happened more. It still happens a lot today. Something comes into the shop, and people are like, oh, I don't want to take care of this anymore. And it's usually sick or messed up. Not always. Sometimes they're just moving. We get a lot of animals in good condition.
We do.
But we also, I remember a boa coming in here that looked like it was going to, I could see its spine.
That metal ball python.
Yeah.
It's got super messed up face.
Yeah. And then things like this was terrible when it came in. So you also are seeing that he would take those animals and spend a lot of extra time working with them to get them back a quality of life that they otherwise would not have had. And then sometimes he'd kind of fall like head over heels for him and then he'd take him home. So, which is okay. I don't have any problem with that. But you're getting to see that human side there too. And it sucks we lost somebody in the hobby. I don't care who we lose in the hobby, whether it's somebody I know and like Colin, or whether it's somebody I barely knew, like when we lost out of Missouri. I'm drawing a blank. Who?
Ben?
Yeah, Ben Rennick, and we lost Rennick. I'd only met him a few times. Or whether it's somebody I've never even met, is always a sad thing because we're losing people who were willing to have the fight and advocate and do all those things. So, and have something that wasn't always a cat or dog. You do feel like I'm touching my penis in the morning. That is, I'm sorry. Every scaleless animal kind of feels like a dick. If you never felt one, there you go. Just go take a pee, and now you know what it feels like. All right. Anything else we should add, or should we just leave on the penis joke?
Penis joke it is.
Penis joke it is. Kurt, any questions?
No.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.